The text for today is Jeremiah 31 to verses 7 to 14, and it's talking about the restoration of Israel. So one of the main things that stood out to me in this is the topic of restoration, and there's multiple verses where it speaks very clearly about restoration. So in verse 8, it talks about gathering people from the ends of the earth and that a great throng will return. In verse 9, it says, I will lead them beside streams of water on a level path where they will not stumble. Verse 12, it talks about people shouting for joy and rejoicing, and describes the people and says that they will be like a well-watered garden. And in verse 13, it talks about turning mourning into gladness. So this is all talking about restoration and how God is taking something that has been scattered across everywhere, across the ends of the earth, and bringing it all back together and then blessing it. Not just bringing it all to one place and then letting it be, but about where it talks about how people will be like a well-watered garden. This isn't just a place where things have been thrown together and left, but a well-watered garden produces fruit and is eye-catching and is beautiful, and that's what the people are going to be like in this passage. That's what God's restoration does. Takes things that were broken and scattered, brings them together and provides fruit and beauty. Then in verse 14 it says, I will satisfy the priests with abundance, and my people will be filled with my bounty. This is talking about provision, and I love the word abundance. I feel like this isn't just talking about provision in this is just exactly what you need, and here I'm going to just fill in the gaps just to get you where you need to be, or even here's exactly what you asked for. But actually it's provision of abundance, and that's God's idea of abundance as well. So it actually is abundance. It's not even what we think abundance would look like, but it's a godly understanding of abundance, and that's what is provided and promised to us. The final thing that I kind of got from this passage was actually a call to share good news, to speak it out. So in verse 7 it says, shout for the foremost of the nations, and in verse 10 it says, hear the word of the Lord, you nations, proclaim it in distant coastlands. And it's this call to bear witness to what God has done, to say, look, here's the promise of God that he promised beforehand, and here it is coming together. And it's a call, it's just a continued call on all of our lives to share what God is doing, and an encouragement that all of the exciting and amazing things that God does aren't just for the people that they happen to, but are for everybody. And it's a promise that everyone has access, and that we get to experience these things, and then we get the privilege of sharing that with people. So that's what I got from this passage. A lesson on restoration, I guess, of this is what it looks like. This is God bringing people back together and providing them in abundance, and then we get to share this with other people, and that is part of the call on our lives. As God restores and blesses us, we get to enjoy witnessing to other people and to our friends, sharing the good news of what God has done.